welcome to another edition of COVID Comfort. Today we're going to be talking about Scream. Yes, Scream, I know. The movie that there's really nothing left to be said about. But here we are. I actually had COVID last week, so this is the most authentic COVID Comfort there could possibly be. So what can you say about Scream that hasn't already been said? For me, this was, I don't want to call it a gateway horror movie, but it was one of the first ones I saw as a kid that made a huge impression on me and made me a lover of the genre. And it is kind of the Pulp Fiction of the horror genre, essentially. I mean, it brought to the forefront. It's not the first movie to have done some of these things, but it's the most mainstream one to have kind of brought in a meta sensibility, talked about the genre tropes and had the characters aware of the genre's tropes, but still works as a good horror film. Kind of the first truly postmodern horror film. And because of that, I think it gets a lot of flack because, like Pulp Fiction, it's another film that was so good and so popular that it inspired so many rip-offs that were not that good, but kind of leaned on what they thought was successful about the movie. The obnoxious crutches of meta references, of referencing other films, of a kind of self-awareness and sarcasm and irony that in and of themselves are not scary and not that compelling. It's the thing that's so great about Scream is that it has all those elements that are fun for genre fans to go, oh, here's the rules of the horror movie that we know, but it's fun to hear them like reiterated. But it's still scary. It still works as a horror film. So it's working on more than one level rather than like leaning on all the nerdy kind of fandom elements of it, but then having a mediocre or, completely unscary movie underneath, which a lot of imitators did, and which, caused so many people, caused whatever kind of backlash that there is against the movie, which I understand because now we're so many years later, but we still have that kind of thing. That trend still happens, and it's not one of my favorites. That reference heavy, meta heavy, tongue in cheek, irony heavy horror movies. Because if it's not done well, it's just kind of obnoxious, and you feel the while we all like certain films, and you want think it's cool to have Easter eggs and stuff. It's all been so overdone. And in this day and age, me personally, I watch films like that and just go, okay, but what do you have to say? Or what story do you want to tell? Or what's at the core of this besides the fact that, okay, yeah, you like X, Y, and Z film or X, Y, and Z filmmaker. That's cool. So do I. But you can't just make a movie about that. I mean, you can, but it may be incredibly annoying. So the film, obviously gets a lot of flack for that, and that's not its fault. If anything, that's just goes to show you how great it was in the first place. But yeah, I mean, what can you say about it? To me, because it was so formative, so I must have seen Scream when I was like 8 or 9. Rented it from the video store. I wasn't old enough to go see it in the theater, but distinctly remember the blockbuster new release and watching that movie and loving it and being terrified and covering myself with fake blood afterwards and pretending to die, because I guess that's what you do. And my older brother being like, shut the fuck up. But for me, it's so formative that I think it is a masterpiece. I think it's one of the best horror films, and it's one of the best it's almost a horror comedy with the irony and self-referential kind of humor. But yeah, I think it's got that, I don't know, it's like that perfect balance of like murder mystery slasher, but also funny and fun and well written and just all across the board 10 out of 10 for me. I know some people hate it, and I get why, and I get the trends that it perpetuated or inspired that are kind of annoying, but it's still a kind of a 100% comfort watch that I can go back to at any time and enjoy. And it really kind of shows the it's kind of a showcase for Wes Craven's sophistication of his craft, I would say, because here's a guy who started, with Last House on the Left and things like that and Hills Have Eyes, that not that they're not well crafted, because they are, but their reputation and their power is in a extreme raw documentary visceral sense, and this is way more polished and just a masterclass in suspense throughout. So yeah, it's one to always come back to. I pretty much feel the same way about Scream 2, which maybe I'll do a video on at some point. Scream 3, not so much. Scream 4, and hopefully this new one will be good. We'll see. It'll be weird without Wes doing it, but yeah, I still think, it's a great comfort watch. It's a great, maybe people would argue this because it is fairly gory, but I feel like it's a good gateway horror movie. It's not that intense compared to certain things, and it's got that, that incredible mixed tone where you get real scares and danger, but also a lot of fun and humor and characters that you like and care about. So yeah, that's Scream. I love it. I still love it. I don't care what anyone says. So next time, it's been a while since we've been here, so I should have some new video essays coming up in the pipeline soon. And who knows what we'll do for another COVID comfort. At some point I am going to probably talk about Scream 2, because I have a irrational love for that movie that I can't really explain, but at some point we'll go into it. But happy Halloween. Enjoy the scary season. Watch Scream while you're at it. All right. Take care. Bloodhound Picks podcast is produced by Josh Lee, Craig Draheim, and Kyle Hintz. Music by Raymond Seed. Editing by Kyle Hintz.